This is Jonathan St. James, and you're listening to The Truth is Still Straight podcast.
All right, folks. Thank you. Welcome. All right, this is Jonathan St. James, and guess what? We don't have to do this week because LaDonna Marie is back. So, for those of you who've been watching, you know we've been booing every week that she hasn't been here. But she's back in the house.
Hey, everybody.
So what you been up to? Happy New Year and all of that.
Happy New Year, etc., etc. Happy belated birthday. I miss you guys. I miss the audience. Hey, everybody. I'm here. I had to take a break, you guys. I needed a mental break. I just had to take a rest, but I'm refreshed and I'm back and I'm ready to talk today.
I just want to say, I can't believe I haven't seen you since last year.
You've been waiting. I miss you guys.
All right. So we have the love orthodontist in the house over here, Jim, aka the godfather of relationship braces. All right, Jim, how are you? Hold on, let me play your theme music. Hold on.
Oh my God. There's no heavenly crap here. Oh my goodness. Angels do not sing when I talk.
Dr. Jim, DDS for relationship braces in the house.
How you doing, everyone?
Yeah. All right. So, LaDonna Marie, what's going on with everything with you in terms of have you been doing anything with Planting Positive Seeds, your book sales, or pop-up shops? What have you been up to since we've spoke last?
So since the last, I really was taking a break, but I was preparing for this year for 2022, because with Planting Positive Seeds, we have the initiatives that that go on quarterly and throughout the year. So I was, thinking about those things that we're about to embark upon, which is like the scholarship fund for the girls that graduated from high school, the event that I normally do in the summer for girls. This year, I want to make it a jewels and rubies for the women and for the girls, so Planting Positive Seeds. And then I'm thinking what I wanted to do coming up in November when I have the annual conference is I wanted to do some type of fundraiser, maybe like a ball or a gala for Planting Positive Seeds. And so I was taking that time to just think about, what we were going to do for this year. As far as the books, I mean, I'm still encouraging everyone to go get a copy of the memoir because it helps to share building your relationship and building your intimacy with God. I had a couple people from Dubai to review the book. I had readers' favorite. They reviewed it. I've gotten about 10 5-star reviews. Some of them, 4 of them are on Amazon, but the other ones they disappeared. But I really want to encourage people, anybody that's out there that's looking to build their relationship and going through, with God, but have gone through all of these things that they had to overcome. And instead of them, feeling like they're left behind or feeling bitter, even when I went through those things, God helped me to know that He always had my back and He was always there with me. So I share more parts of my life in the book. So those are things that are pretty much that I was thinking about. And, I took the time to break down my quarterly goals because I don't want to be overwhelmed. 2022, there was a lot going on. There were a lot of moving parts. So in 2021, so now in 2022, I want to slow pace it and let God get the glory for all that I'm about to do in Planting Positive Seeds and that we're about to embark upon. So
where can people get this stuff again?
So they can go over to www.LaDonnaPlantingPositiveSeeds.com to see anything about the nonprofit. You can also go to www.LaDonnaMarie.org and learn everything about LaDonna Marie books. We also, I think since the last time we spoke, we also had the toy drive for Planting Positive Seeds for Christmas Eve. And Planting Positive Seeds, with the help of all of the sponsors, the donors, you all volunteers, ambassadors, we raised close to $1,000, and we were able to help 6 families with about, I think it was Steve. We had Santa came down from the North Pole to help us take these gifts out to the children so they could have them right in time for Christmas. And so that was a blessing. We could not have done that new initiative because it was something new that we were bringing out to the people. And so that was the last thing that Planting Positive Seeds did for the end of the year. But yeah, I don't think I talked about that before I left.
Oh my God.
I didn't mean to press that button. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I did not mean to press that button. I was trying to do something else and the button got ahead of me. I certainly wasn't trying to press that button, I promise.
Your hand was trying to.
All right, Jim. What have you been up to? Let's hear how you've been going on. Have you been studying your braces? What's going on there?
I have been involved in a few things. I am going to Colombia on a goodwill mission in April to visit children teenagers who are attending or who are going to attend colleges that are being sponsored by a friend's not-for-profit. So I'm accompanying them along with them to see how they operate, how they function, how does the money help them and things like that, and to help them do a documentary as well, with footage and things like that. So I volunteered to do that. I thought it was a good opportunity for me to explore more of, the world and, how, not just to rely on movies for information. So I thought it was a good opportunity for me. I'm also, looking into expanding my roles in work or in other opportunities. I think it's a time for me to, try to not limit myself anymore on certain things and, take more of general risks because, I feel like, in my situation, I should take more advantage of it. So I've been, doing other things that normally I wouldn't do. So it's a different process for me. I'm not too emotionally available as I would be for others, but I feel like it's a step in the right direction. And, just to survive this winter, that's I think the last part is, with all the snow is coming down, snow is snow, but, as long as we get past this, I'll be good. So, that's it for now.
He's on fire.
All right. So, Jim, I just want to say this. When you go down there, just make sure, you don't bring any illegal stuff back because I don't want to hear this in front of you.
You better pay somebody don't drug me and try to marry someone to bring them up here.
No marriage. Yeah.
Because that's where all that white stuff comes from. So be careful. Don't take anybody's luggage.
Any last name named Escobar, I'm trying to stay away from.
Exactly.
Say no.
That's right. Just say no, as they say. Say no. All right. Let's go here. Okay, so now I just want to give a shout out to everybody who's watching. If I forget your name, my bad, but definitely Pedro, Tatiana. Jim, do you remember who else I always shout out every week? Sister
yeah.
Millie, on the West Coast, and everybody else. I just can't remember offhand. I'm a year older, so I don't remember as good. But thank you for watching and supporting, and for those of you who supported the fundraiser, thank you as well. Appreciate it. And if you didn't support, just want to say this.
How rude.
So we're gonna start the show. I wanted to start with this reaction video and then kind of get into this discussion about it. And really just have a, because we talk about relationships a lot. And I think there's a big issue in relationships when it comes to cooperation between men and women. And that's kind of what I want to get into today. So I'm going to play this video and we'll react to that. And this video is going to be from Lapeef Let's Talk. And it's a small clip about some issues that they're having in communication between the men and the women on the show. So let me take this out. Okay, hold on a second.
Total Lapeef, let's talk.
We are. I don't want to move the goalposts. I don't want to interject anything else. So, because I'm curious to know, why do you always use that as an excuse that you say, well, on this show, we do this, this, and this?
No, it's not just this show. It's shows in general. Any show where there's 8 people, somebody's going to jump in. Every single person here and every single person on every single show I've ever been on, someone has jumped in. I don't think that's exclusive to me. And the fact that y'all try to paint that thing,
I just don't understand that logic. I don't.
You don't understand the logic that
and what you're saying, because I've witnessed. Hold on, okay. Because I personally have witnessed plenty of shows where there are multiple people on platforms and so on and so forth.
Which ones?
And they have a civil discourse. There's an exchange, and if somebody interjects, hold on, okay. If somebody interjects, pardon, you go first. My bad, you go.
Okay,
first.
Tell me those shows so I can watch.
Okay, so just a brief overview of what usually when they do these small clips, they do a little intro, and that's going to actually happen late in the clip. So that's going to give you kind of an idea on what they're talking about there. Hold on one second. Yeah, so that's just a little overview of what they're going to talk about in this clip. This is part of a bigger show that they did, which is, I think, like 6 hours. It's a lot to watch and listen to. Mm-hmm. But as you can see, Kay is on the show. She's the main antagonist of pretty much everyone that doesn't agree with her on the show. So I wanted to kind of talk about that and then lead it into today's show discussion. So let's continue.
I agree with you, Anton. I think a lot of men view women as weaker, so they feel a lot more comfortable puffing their, whatever. So yeah, that was perfectly proving my point. In terms of Uncle Logic, I can't understand how he's talking about emotions and feelings when he has on multiple occasions talked about the vibes. And I can just tell that you're single, Kayla. Oh my goodness. Even though Kayla is literally not single, but he's talking about somebody else's feelings. Like, it's really weird. It's weird. And if you, JB Uncle Logic, see me as a man, that's on you. I mean, if you see me or Kayla as men, that's something you need to go sort out with yourself. I don't really have anything to say about that. You do you.
So you don't, why don't you fear men?
What do you mean?
Do you fear men?
Some men, I guess, not all men. I don't fear men in general. No.
So let me just stop it there briefly and kind of explain what's going on there. Part of the bigger discussion was she asked about men raising their voices to women and why men don't raise their voice to other men. So the discussion behind that was they basically said that the reason why men don't raise their voice to other men is because they know there's a threat of violence. And so that was the point that he made. He said, well, I think it's Chicago Rilla, who's the guy that's by the logo at the top. He's a little cut off there. But he was like, well, when men, they realize when they speak in a disrespectful tone, fists, it can lead to fighting and it can lead to violence. And then the point that he was making is men sometimes get strong with women because there's no threat of violence is what he was talking about. And then she tried to say that men are afraid of men, so that's why they don't speak up against men. And he is trying to explain that's not the case. And I don't know if you notice her. That's her. She's an antagonizer. If you watch every episode, this is what she does. Very disrespectful. And so I don't know if you can see the energy right there, LaDonna Marie. Do you see that she's confrontational? What do you see in your first notion? What is your take on her to begin with?
Well, I can see that she is consistently trying to get a rise out of them, and I guess they're like coasting him with different little, little, brief things for him to say stuff. I don't know, little jabs, for him to be able to respond, in a way. That's just what I see. But I do see, like, yeah, she's the one, just by what she's been saying, and like, show me the show. There's several shows out there, you know what I'm saying? So like, trying to be in disagreement, I can say, with whatever he's saying, she wants to kind of like try to prove it wrong, or
yes,
like that. So that's how I kind of feel what kind of vibe she's giving off.
exactly. So Jim, I mean, you've seen this before. What is your initial take? I mean, not only on this clip, but just in K in general, being someone who's actually watched this show.
K's a what if. Everything her is what if. She doesn't like dealing with what is, because what ifs allow her to be in her space of trying to disprove things. You can give her all the information needed and she'll come up with a what if. This is it, now you can't account for everything. Everything doesn't happen, or into everybody. You have to go with generalizations, because you talk about the majority. And then she tries to create a niche for a what if for the minority. That's like 0.1 or 0.01% of a situation. She does do it. She does antagonize. She plays, and then when she gets caught out there, she plays the deer in headlights and try to gain some kind of upper footing of veiled ignorance, or double speak, in which she says one thing, then she says another thing, and then it's like, well, she just goes to, I'm just trying to understand, or I just need more. No. Sometimes you have to stick by what you say, and then you have to prepare to back it up. And sometimes the stuff that she says, you don't back it up, because she deals with what ifs. It's hard to have a conversation with a person like that. And I know it's been told to her plenty of times before, but she's allowed to stay in that space because she gives off that energy and people take it. So in that retrospect, she's allowed to give it, but she don't want to take it. The problem is you have to like shut her off completely, or have her take your energy, in which she'll try to deflect and try to bounce off her, try to do like Neo in the Matrix, dodging bullets. She'll do all that stuff, man. She'll be like she an agent, just moving around real quick. But you gotta catch her. I know Antoine caught her a few times. She does get caught a few times, but she's good at that. Yeah. Very good at that. Very proficient.
She's good at that. And the funny thing with her, she says she's never wrong, and that because it is an opinion is not wrong. And of course, I've asked Maury Povich to comment on that. And Maury Povich, what is your response to Kay saying that she is never wrong?
My detector test determined that was a lie.
I agree, Maury. Thank you. All right. So so I want to continue the video, and then we can kind of pause it in between and get additional reactions.
Okay, but you feel comfortable enough to argue with him, though, right?
I feel comfortable to, if we're having a discussion on a panel, that's a show where we each get asked our opinions and we get to push back. I thought that's what we were supposed to do.
It's just a question. Okay, so cool.
I'm not understanding how y'all are trying to make this into something.
I didn't make it anything. I'm asking a question.
Okay. What?
But I didn't make it anything. I just asked you a question.
Hold on.
The only interaction that Mr. Logic especially has had with me is here. Anton, we've talked a couple of times offline. JR, we've talked offline. Chicago, we've talked offline. Kayla, we've talked offline. Island, Q, we've talked offline. JB has never, JB Uncle Logic, not to be confused with the other JB. Please check out I'm Broken Dusty on Wednesdays. Shout out to JB. He's never seen me anywhere. So him doing all this confident talking is just really comical and strange at this point.
I guess the question that I'm asking is, or the point that I'm making is, when you decide to dial back, is it out of fear or is it something else?
So like if we're having a conversation like we have
with
had.
anybody, it don't matter if it's with another girl, another guy,
Okay.
whatever.
Well,
in person, when you decide to dial back, is it out of fear?
No, for me, no. But I'm gonna come at Q. I'm gonna come at Kayla. I'm gonna come at Chicago, JR, you, Logic, Melanie. I'm coming at y'all all the same way. My only issue is, and that's fine to me because it's no hard feelings.
See, now that I want to stop it there. And the problem that I have with what she's saying is that is not how the show is. She has put herself as like the assistant host of the show.
How'd you get that?
So that's kind of what's going on there. So she puts herself as the assistant host of the show, and then she decides she's one that cuts everyone off, and that is what the problem is. So she's cutting people off at, just straight up. She straight up cuts people off. And am I lagging? Because it looks like I'm lagging
a little bit.
Yeah, every now and then it looks like my video is lagging. I don't know what's going on over here, but so basically in this conversation, they're trying to explain to her, when people get in each other's way, especially when the guys are kind of talking back and forth and they get in each other's way, one guy stops and lets the other person talk. And then when they're finished, the person responds. But I don't know if you've noticed in this conversation, Kay loves cutting people off. And they get very frustrated with it. And I don't know if this is part of the get views, get clout. I don't know if this is a setup for her to be the antagonist, but I just noticed that this is definitely a problem for the show, and they're constantly talking about her cutting people off, and then her responding like this: "Oh, I'm not doing anything wrong. I do this to the women." But what she's basically saying to you is, I don't care. I'm very disrespectful to women. I'll be disrespectful to men. It doesn't matter who it is. I'm just going to do this to whoever I feel like doing this to. So, have you paid attention? I mean, have you gotten anything from this interaction between the men and her so far, LaDonna Marie? Do you kind of see the sort of back and forth that they have going on that they really don't like, and they're trying to explain to her, but she's not willing to understand?
So yeah, I can actually see. I'm looking at, like you said, body language and looking at the people, and yeah, they're trying to explain something that they don't like, and she is not having it. And so I can see that they're kind of uncomfortable having the conversation, but it needs to be had, because like you said, no one else is really been able to talk since we've started this. We've only heard her voice, but because she doesn't see what she's doing is monopolizing everything.
I agree with you.
Therefore, the conversation is ongoing because she's still trying to say like it's not me.
I agree with that. So, I know I don't think you've watched this show before, particularly, no. But it's true. As you say, she monopolizes the conversation, and she comes up here and all of with that attitude and doesn't let people finish what they're saying. This is every episode is her and the other lady. You can't see her because my my face is covering her face over here, but she's behind me. Kayla, they're the #1 antagonist on the show. You know, you have the other two ladies
attacking the champions.
All the other ladies that appear on this show, no problem. It's just these two every week, and I just think they believe that that's their contribution to the show. So let's continue there.
Love y'all. It's fine. But the thing is, if it's noticeable that certain men go really hard at women and not really hard at men, I think that's a point to be discussed. I don't do that. I don't fall back when it's somebody, blah, blah, blah. And oh my goodness, it's a man. I'm not going to say anything. Or it's a woman. I'm not going to say anything. I'm the same.
So
regardless.
are you saying certain men or are you saying men in general? Because when you asked Chicago, you was talking about men in general. But now you adding a caveat and you saying certain men.
I'm talking about men in general. If it's right. men in general, if I disagree or you're coming at me sideways, I'm gonna be the same way. And it's funny because sometimes people use Kevin Samuels. They'll be like, why didn't you come at him? Kevin Samuels has never like disrespected me. He's never come at me bogus in any situation. We've gotten to like some little tiny back and forths, but he's not like attacked me ever. So what reason would I have?
And you know what the interesting thing about it is, and you know why your argument is so flawed, is because the very first conversation and your very first interaction with Kevin Samuels, you disrespected him on this platform.
How was it disrespect?
Not only that,
how was it disrespect?
No, one at a time, y'all. One at a time.
Not only that.
No.
I'm about to answer your question if you let me finish.
Thank you.
There you go. So
there it is.
You now you see. This is what they experience every week.
You ask a question, he try to answer, and you keep cutting him off because you don't want to hear it. You put your foot in the mouth, and you know what? He was just about to come at you, and then you're gonna do the misdirection, and you're gonna talk over him until he gets frustrated. That's a strategy, frustration. She just keeps talking until they get frustrated and they go on to the next point without her answering anything. She doesn't answer anything on that show. Every question you pose to her, she overtalks it, change the topic, or she asks a question. Every time she has not fully answered a question for as long as I've been on this show. I mean, I've been watching the show, excuse me. As long as I've been watching the show, she hasn't fully answered a question.
Yeah.
And that to me is the most nerve-wracking thing that could happen to anybody.
So as you can see, this is pretty much, so to be honest, and it's funny, that's what I was originally trying to find the video, is there's a Kevin Samuels video that even he said that she was disrespectful to him. And what he said is, what she doesn't understand, because I'm not sure if in this clip, because I actually watched this clip, but I can't remember if it's in this clip or if it's in the full video. But she says, oh, I think disrespecting someone is calling them out of their name. And what Kevin Samuels said, and I agree with him, is that when you provoke people, that is disrespect. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to get a reaction out of them, which isn't positive. You're trying to get them out of their character by antagonizing them. That's disrespect right there, because you're looking to see how far you can take this before you make the person lose their composure. And I'm going to let that play. I'm going to let the video play so you can see where he kind of gets into that and talks about that, because I believe right after that, he does make a remark on that. So I don't want to interrupt his flow in saying that, but my video is lagging when I'm playing the video. I don't know what's going on. I'll have to check that after the show, but when I'm in this format, it lags, but okay.
You don't agree with him, and that's why you're doing what you said you do. But let him finish. Okay, let him finish, and we'll get to you.
I don't agree.
Not even JR.
Okay.
Audience. This is the beautiful thing about this.
Oh my goodness! Here we go with this.
We're gonna be able to replay this back.
When
she talked the whole time, I listened. I never interrupted her once.
Oh my goodness!
I let her make her whole point.
Oh my goodness! What did I do?
Whenever a man starts to make a point that's valid, they start to overtalk you because they know you about to flame them.
Okay,
this
go ahead.
happens
Flame.
regularly. Look at her; she can't even stop. She can't help herself because she know what's about to happen, and she remembers what happened. This is what happens, and I remember it vividly.
Oh, tell us.
When Kevin Samuels first came on this show. She disrespected him so much to where she went and look, she can't even stop. She went into the Facebook group. Rilla, if I'm lying, I'm flying. Please help me to understand. She even went to the Facebook
when I
group.
said that I made him start cursing.
She bragged about getting on his head so much that she made him cuss.
But what was the thing I
Rilla,
did?
am I off or not?
No, I remember, and
What
I remember
was the
also when
thing?
he
Hold on, K, hold on. Hey, hold on. You gotta let them. Let them finish. Okay, let them finish, and we're gonna get to you. Okay, I promise. I promise.
And I got the memory of an elephant, so I'm able to recall that.
What did I do to disrespect him?
Let her talk. She want to talk.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Have at it, Kay. We all quiet. The floor is yours.
Anton, can you tell me the thing I did that disrespected him? No? Oh, okay. That was exactly my point. I didn't disrespect him. Now, if you're talking about, he started cursing and stuff, and I'm like, man, this man's supposed to be so cool, calm, and collected, which he has been since then. That was the only incident with that, my very first show.
Because you know your tricks.
You're so
You're silly rabbit.
and you're cursing at people.
So, as you can see, this is how she engages people all the time. And it's rough. It's rough, because they're trying to conduct a conversation and she is interjecting every chance that she gets. It's just no way around it. So, LaDonna Marie, all right. Now, do you see what they're getting at? I mean, is there assessment? Does that appear as being disrespectful? What do you think?
It is disrespectful. Because I always would tell my children, when one person is talking, like two people can't really talk at the same time, and then you can't fully understand what the other person is saying. So no, you don't have to be calling them out of their name, but it is something about yielding and letting another person finish their complete thought. Because to have great listening skills, you're supposed to listen to hear, not listen to respond. That's effective listening. And so, and even if you let the person continue to finish their thought and then you come in and speak, but in this situation, she's very non-patient and she has to get the word in, and she's not giving them the respect that they need when it's their time. When it's their time to speak, when it's their time to explain. And you don't have to agree with everything, but you do have to wait your turn. Most of the time for me, I take long pauses to make sure, no one else is about to jump in before I jump in, because, you don't want everybody, we can't understand everybody talking at the same time. So I understand it, and I can see, because the whole time they were telling her to just hold on, just wait a minute, let us get it out. She kept going. It was like she just did not want to fully let them finish their train of thought. And that was confusing. It was intense. I probably would have muted her mic if I could have. And, just say, finish, try next time. Or we'll bring you back in at the end of the show. Because if I'm repeatedly asking you to govern yourself accordingly, like these are the rules that we have, this is how the protocol of how this is going to go, and you're not adhering, we're just going to set you on silent.
I agree. And that's why I don't know why they don't do that to her. Because here's the thing, we do this show. And for those of you who, I don't know if we have any people who been watching now that has listened to us from back in the day. We've never had a problem everybody getting their point across. And we've had 5 people, sometimes callers, and there's never been an issue with people cutting people off and arguing with them and stuff like that. If you have something to say, you have something to say. Wait for the person to finish. If there's a need to interject, there's an interjection, and then the person kind of lets the person say what they got to say, and we move on. And I know Stephen A. Smith has something to say. Okay, let's Stephen A. Smith, what did you have to say?
Stay off the weed.
All right. Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate that. All right, Jim. Did you want to further comment on this? Because I know you just love Kay.
Lordy, she's insufferable. Lordy, she's insufferable. To a point, trying to get her point across, and then she's gonna ask specifically how. Like it's one moment that she was disrespectful. It's not that one moment. It's a series of patterns of behavior. It's not one moment. And that's the problem. She just think it's just one thing, and it's not that. Your whole tone, dictation, your way you talk to him, the way you antagonize him, that is disrespectful. You don't have to have a situation. It's just you consistently doing that. And then when he finally realized who you are, yet your tricks are for kids, she said he stopped because he knew how to handle her tricks. Okay, he called it, you probably think her as a silly rabbit, because he knows how to approach her. Yeah. And that's the problem. She don't want that. Honestly, she doesn't want that. She doesn't want you adapting to her and to the way you talk and things like that. She has gone to other situations as well with other guests on the show. And some people have lose their cool. Some people just ignore her. It depends on how you treat her. If you ignore her and treat her, like the child in the corner, I'm sure she'll just be quiet and try to keep interjecting though with some other stuff and just try to keep going and going. That's the problem.
That's why you got to mute her. You got to mute her because this is how she treats the guys on the show, like this.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, she thinks she's Denzel Washington in Training Day. That's what she thinks she is, putting cases on everybody. I'm just saying. I'm gonna just play the rest of the audio from this point because I think every time I play the video, for some reason it's freezing. It's freezing my computer up. So I'm gonna just go back to playing just only the audio, and then we'll just finish reacting to that. Okay.
That you don't even know. That was my point. My thing is, and I talked about that. So I'm talking about what did I do to disrespect that man? I didn't disrespect him. He's been on me and Kayla's show. I didn't disrespect him. He's been on our show multiple times. I didn't disrespect him. What did I do, Anton, exactly to disrespect him? You can't name it. Say, oh, JR, go to the next thing. Do what you do. Because I guarantee you can't name a time when I actually disrespected him.
Hey, Kay, can I ask you something? And if you say no, that's fine.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, in regards to the Kevin Samuels thing,
that's Chicago.
You don't think if a person is in the middle of their statement, you don't think talking over them is disrespectful?
It's a show, and on every show, hold on, I'm gonna answer. It's a show. On every show, our show, his show, blah blah blah. Every show where there are multiple people, presidential debates, anything, people jump in. I don't find that disrespectful. Now, name calling people feminine, masculine, doing all these different things.
Definitely disrespectful.
Disrespectful.
I have another question.
Disrespected on multiple occasions.
You have.
There's not times where you can tell me outside of over talking, because everyone does.
Wait. I just want to keep it right here.
That I've called anyone out of their name, that I've called anyone anything, that I've done any of that.
Gotcha. I just want to keep it right where we are. I don't want to move the goalposts. I don't want to interject anything else. So, because I'm curious to know, why do you always use that as an excuse that you say, well, on this show, we do this, this, and this?
No, it's not just this show. It's shows in general. Any show where there's 8 people, somebody's going to jump in. Every single person here and every single person on every single show I've ever been on, someone has jumped in. I don't think that's exclusive to me. And the fact that y'all try to paint that thing,
I just don't understand that logic. I don't.
You don't understand the logic that
and what you're saying, because I've witnessed. Hold on, okay. Because I personally have witnessed plenty of shows where there are multiple people on platforms and so on and so forth.
Which ones?
And they have a civil discourse. There's an exchange, and if somebody interjects, hold on, okay.
So that's pretty much the end of the clip there. They go on after that for some time, but that's pretty much the end of it. And it's interesting. with that discussion is she skirts over so much the points that he was like, she doesn't want to hear anybody's points but her own. And I'm just not really sure how that dynamic really works on the show, because it's like you're back and forth arguing with people, things like that. And I don't know how the show remains cohesive. And like I said, I don't know if, for example, they're using that for for views, because people like drama. I don't know if that's a reason why they keep her on or they don't rein her in, but it's, to me, very problematic. And that's what I wanted to talk about in this discussion for the show. And that's the relationship between men and women, and why there are things that are so volatile in relationships now. And I wanted to bring that to the forefront, because I think there's a problem that men and women are having in modern times, and that's cooperation. That's a cooperation in terms of respect. And there are so many people that are volatile, and they're arguing all the time when it comes to having disagreements. And the problem is that we can't talk in a way that we're being disrespectful to each other, but we do. Men are getting into arguments with women. Women sometimes are escalating the argument with men. Some men don't know how to control their anger because they're not used to being spoken to that way, and it escalates. Sometimes violence is involved, but the end result often is a bad place. So, LaDonna Marie, do you see that in modern times between men and women?
Repeat that.
Talking about cooperation between men and women, that this level of confrontation where people are being disrespectful to each other.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that. And of course, I listened to a couple talks on Clubhouse, and I listened to this. I was listening to these people the other day. They were talking about, relationships and conversations and stuff. And I base it to people not having conflict resolution skills, them not knowing how to, I want to say agree to disagree, or have agreeables, or have things in place in which they don't take it to the next level. I do think that a lot of people have not tried to find any type of information on how to communicate their emotions. Just a couple of weeks ago, even the Lord told me to speak to my sons about emotional intelligence, because I would always tell them, not even before them, but I would always say, you can say whatever you would like to a person. It's just the way that you say it. So it's the way that you say it, it's how that you say it. And I know a lot of people who haven't had that training, or haven't had, those skills, or it was not sought, if they did not see it in their home, or they did not learn it, then they don't have it. And so the minute they get into a relationship or something that they feel, like they don't agree, or they feel threatened, or they feel some type of way, however they may be feeling, everything comes up and comes out not in a great way. I can throw my own self under the bus. When I was younger, and I felt like I was getting blamed for everything all the time, and half of the time I didn't do anything. But anytime I would try to explain myself, I would already be upset, because the storyline was I always get accused. And so here I am now trying to explain to you again that I didn't do anything, but I'm mad because I have this whole storyline if I'm the one that always get confused. Instead of taking a step back, calming myself, being in the present moment and assessing it for what's going on now, and not what went on back then. And I don't think a lot of people do that in men and women relationships and different things like that. I've even talked to some women who say that, the only way that they knew how to explain Well, they grew up and all of the girls in there, they used to fight all the time. So even when they got into relationships, fighting was the only way that they knew how to express or conflict, which is not right, but that's what they grew up on. And so now you get into this situation where here it is, someone else doesn't agree with you and you all don't share the same views, and that's all you know. So you bring in what you know if you don't find anything to replace it. And so I find that to be true for myself, because like I said, I always want to speak about me. I had to just learn, like, different ways to handle situations and give yourself, the peace and grace that you need, because you have to think about the other person. And then in other ways, just with, ways, say if you're in a relationship and you all are hot and you're both mad, not saying you at a volatile state, but if you know right now you cannot see eye to eye, what's wrong with saying, hey, babe, let's revisit this conversation in an hour? When we both have calmed down, when emotions are not flying, but most people don't do that. They want to talk to you right now. They want to get it off their chest. They feel like they got something to say, like, Kay, I need to tell you now. And it comes out the way that it comes up. And so I can see a lot of people and that's not having the respect for the other person, because you're going to go through things, but it's the way that you say it, it's how you deliver it, and it's what you do in the process of respecting and caring, because you're not going to be in that moment forever. But sometimes the way that you handle that moment, that person, or maybe even you, could be mad for weeks, could be mad for months, can hold grudges for years because of what was said in a heated moment.
Message. All right. So, Jim, I know we have a lot of discussions about this, but it's usually off the air. So with that, listening to the things that LaDonna Marie, and then I spoke about in the beginning, what is your point of view on this?
LaDonna's right on a lot of things. It is intent in your voice. The problem is with us, with most people, their intent is to hurt you. Okay, I'm just gonna say that when you're in an argument, most people want the advantage. And I'm sorry to say that's how they are. Most people want the advantage. So they'll say anything to hurt you, which turns from downright disrespect to insult. It escalates like that. The problem is most people don't realize when you are trying to be the bigger person and not de-escalate that, they think you're weak, or you don't know how to talk, or you don't know how to communicate. Like what Donna said, they only know how to argue. You have to, if you don't know the person you're with and they're not like that and you're trying to bring it down to your level, I said, don't go down to people's level. They'll beat you with experience. Okay? Don't go down to their level. You're going to have to just walk away. And if they're mad because they did not get the outcome that they wanted. Okay? Grudges, stuff like that comes from the outcomes that you did not want. Because you people are upset over silly stuff. And when you don't admit that it was silly for you to argue, or they don't go down to your level, you will hold on to that and you'll keep it for weeks. That's the problem. And then you go online for validation. But then when you go online for validation, you do not fully disclose your attitude. That's the problem. You are enabling your own self because you are not honest with yourself and you don't want to be honest about yourself to other people. So you manipulate the situation. People don't want that. It's always a one-up. Oh, I know this, so you got to listen to what I say. No, that's not how it works. You can't revisit it because you want a resolution now in your favor. And that's why people overtalk. People try to get their point across and try to silence you. That's why people do that. The truth, exposing the truth or your side is detrimental to them. It doesn't help them. So of course they're going to keep doing that. When you have those type of intentions, and I've been through it consistently, and you know what, sometimes most of the time it's with women, once in a while it's with men, but that's another topic for us. But it's bad, because when you ignore it or when you don't go down to your level because you're not, in your feminine nature, they will insult you, berate you, bring in things not related to the topic to try to get something out of you. And then they're going to claim victory. And then they're going to say, okay, now you got to do this, do that. No, it doesn't. That's not how it works. Stay on topic. Like we said, stay on topic, stay in the moment. If you cannot get you're not going to get the resolution you want, or else it wouldn't be an argument. That's first and foremost. So if you get pushed back, if you get some type of resistance and you expect it, is most of the time arguments comes from a pushback that you expect. So if you're expecting it, you should be able to know how to de-escalate, but they want you to stoop down to their level and they'll beat you with that experience. You can't let them do that. And that's what, guys like Rilla and Antoine, now they know that. That's why they ask her a bunch of follow-up questions, because they know that if they're going on to a level, she's going to beat them down there with her experience in it.
Halfway.
I agree with that, Jim. And I wanted to bring that up to the next point of the discussion is, so we talk about this and, we talk about a lot of times with men when they get into the disagreements, it's often that there's an understanding that this can lead to people getting into physical altercation. But a lot of times women don't understand that and they antagonize men, and it can become very volatile. And sometimes it does. Some men don't know how to turn it off when women can be antagonizing to the highest degree. And sometimes it does, especially in relationships, turns into domestic violence. And a lot of times that's what Kevin Samuels talks about on his shows. He's like, you had a domestic violence situation, the guy hit you, whatever. What did you do? And did you escalate it to where it turned into violence? And a lot of times the women say, yeah, well, I pushed him to the point where he would put his hands on me. And that's what, and there's a lot of reasons why people say men do it. I don't want to get into that discussion so much, but you touched on something, LaDonna Marie, when you talked about tabling a discussion, and tabling the discussion and talking about it when cooler heads prevail. And I think that's a good idea. So my point, and I think Jim, you'll probably have a lot to say on this, but LaDonna Marie, what do you think? What can be the blueprint for having disagreements? And when just to put in people's minds, disagreements are going to come and go, and what can be a boundary for when you're having a discussion on a disagreement, and what can men and women do, men and men, or women and whatever, a disagreement in general, but most specifically in relationships, because I think that's where it counts the most, because we find when the disagreement escalates beyond the point of where people are feeling disrespected, it can lead to domestic violence at times, or it can lead to a physical confrontation at times because people don't know how to subdue their anger. And so what is a blueprint that you think we can set for disagreements between people in relationships?
First off, I think, it's going to be based off every person's relationship, because there are always going to be some non-negotiables that you have in each and every relationship. But I would say, if there's a situation in which that you are, you're angry, or if you're like overly, upset, I think that the individual, before you bring it to the person, you yourself need to take some time to get yourself together before you give the message. I think that you actually need to take a break before you give that message. Something else that I've often thought about doing is, even with my children, is when there's something, and I saw this somewhere and I'm taking it for myself, but when there's something that No, well, yeah, if there's something that you want to say and you don't quite know how you want to say it, you would write it down and put it in a jar, or put it on a board or something. And then you would, then the other person would take time to, go and retrieve it and read it, because that will eliminate coming at somebody in a volatile or a, just in a bad way. But the thing about it is, I think that each person needs to also understand their own triggers. Like, what are your triggers? Like I was saying in the beginning, like, what are your non-negotiables? And then mainly before you got into the relationship, there should have been some type of, like you said, boundaries or protocols set for these heated types of situations, because it's not always going to be, always going to be so easily available. Prime example, sometimes one person could be just being calm, but how the other person perceives it could be like they think that they just don't like it. So it wasn't that the person was provoking a person. It was just the other person doesn't know how to receive criticism, constructive criticism, something about themselves that they don't like. So I do think it is very important. And I pray that it happens more than often, because a lot of people, a lot of self-care and a lot of self-help and a lot of things that people go get from therapists are coping skills to teach you how to better manage yourself. Because in relationships, it is two people who are coming together from two different situations and two different atmospheres, and you learn something, in your household. But when you come together, you also have to unlearn a lot of unhealthy things, and even taking the time to look at and list unhealthy patterns, unhealthy responses, unhealthy behaviors, and to just put it all out on paper. Do I think that that's going to happen? No. But do I think that are some things that need to be normalized? Yes. Because you can't change something until you actually acknowledge that it needs to be changed. You can't change it. And then you cannot keep doing the same thing and expect something to happen. I mean, we said insanity for so long, but I just said, and I wrote this on my blog the other day, the best way to show transformation is through change behavior. You can't say that you've been transformed. You can't say that I'm doing something different if every time you're back in that same situation, you are doing the exact same thing that you've done before. That means you haven't changed. It's just a different day in another situation, and your triggers have been pulled or pushed, and you are readily available to react. And I think a lot of people need to learn how to listen to hear instead of listening to react in relationships. I pray that it gets better with those, but a lot of situations you see, people do not like doing self-evaluations about things that they have within themselves that need fixing or need changing, or admitting that I grew up maybe in a toxic home. I grew up in an abusive home. I grew up seeing this. I grew up seeing, this. And so now I think that this is the way that it's supposed to be. In actuality, it's toxic. It's negative. It's not helpful. But to another person who grew up in a meek and a calm, or, tried to do the best that they could to get, pace themselves and get situations out, like Jim said earlier, you will take that for weakness, their meekness for weakness, instead of they're just in control of their reaction. They're just in control of their feelings, or they're just in better control of not reacting every time something happens, or every time somebody says something that they don't like. And I was telling my boys this, because I promise you, I have a lot of life conversations with them, and I pray that they use them when it's time. But I also told them that you can let people argue by themselves. Like, you don't have to show up to every argument.
That's
like
right.
You can let them talk, and you can not let it go in your ear. You can just, ignore it. or you don't have to respond. You don't have to. Or like I said, that will be a time where you like, listen, you know, this conversation is really heated. You know, let's pick it up in 30 minutes. You know, let's pick it up in an hour where we better can explain ourselves. But I just told them that the other day, because I was telling you before we got on here about the game. And, you know, there were some people saying some stuff that he didn't like and he was going in. And I pulled him off and I said, listen, you don't have to show up to every argument. I've learned in my life how to pick my battles. And I can be listening to somebody going off in pure life, and I can be looking just like this, because guess what? I don't have to show up for everything that I don't agree with. And I'm not going to be sucked in, because if someone outside of you controls you or gets you upset, then that means they control your feelings, your emotions. And so I try to always stay emotionally stable. And so that's enough, but I hope that I answered a little bit of your question.
Definitely.
Mark Master Flex now.
That was really good. All right, Jim. I don't know if there's anything left for you to even say, but if you can piece something together there, let's bring it back.
You got this.
LaDonna's right. LaDonna's right. Not everything needs a response. People, relax. All this back and forth online, everything needs a response. You know, and you know, just because they think you ignore them, they think they're right. But you know, hey, let them live in their ignorance. One, you know, they'll listen. You leave people alone, they'll mess up on their own. That's it. Yo, 6 months later, you can have something happen to them, and you've been like, like, yeah, you're not surprised. You know, people screw up on their own. You don't need a response to them. Everything that they do will come back to them on their own, because they think they're invincible. You don't have to respond to them. You know, when you respond to things in life that, you know, doesn't really affect you, you know, competitively, socially, you know, it just drains you. So yeah, just let them go, let them be, let them focus on the little stuff they think that make them seem big. You know, these are from people you haven't even met, you don't know, and you're worrying about them. Don't worry about it. You know, one day somebody, like, you know, I always say this. Oh, the movie Friday taught me a lot. Somebody will run into their Debo talking smack, and they gonna get knocked out. Gonna be Chris Tucker when they on the ground. You got knocked out. So that's gonna be me, because they're gonna run to their Debo and they're gonna get knocked out. It's gonna happen regardless. And as I said, just leave them alone. They'll find the Debo will find them, and they'll get what is coming to them.
Jim, Greta Thunberg has something she want to say to you.
How dare you?
Yeah, exactly.
First of all, what was with that rhyme in the beginning over there? Is this Jim or is this Jesse Jackson?
Come on, man.
I'm just saying, you know, it just came out like that. But
I'm gonna have to watch this and hear that little rhyme you had at the beginning about alone or whatever that was. I'm like, what is going on here? Even Stephen A. Smith was like,
lay off.
What the hell was that?
Write that down. Leave them alone on their own.
Yeah, what'd you say, Jim? How would you say at the beginning of that?
You know what? These heated speech moments, I don't remember.
All right, I'm gonna just have to watch over again
and
see what you said over there. But that was pretty good. And you know what? And I want to go back to something like you repeated that LaDonna Marie said. And you don't have to show up for every argument. I know a lot of times our goal when we argue with people is to win. And if you know you're right, to tell you the truth, righteousness will always prevail in the end, whether it's immediately or somewhere down the road. And if there's a truth to be told out of any disagreement, time will spread it. You know, if the person is willing to receive the truth. If they're not willing to receive the truth, then they'll never see it. And you have to gauge people according to that. You have to gauge people whether they really want to know the truth or they're going to be open to being wrong. And if they're not, then there's nothing you can do. And you have to deal with those people accordingly. What did you say, govern yourself accordingly, right? LaDonna Marie, that's what you said?
Yes.
All right. So my throat is acting up again over here. So Jim, trying to find your music over here. I don't know where it's
Yay.
All right. Hold on. It's time for the music. Here we go. Relationship braces. Bringing heart together. One heart at a time. Jim, we've talked about these disagreements and antagonizing one another. What can you offer the people out there who will need the keys to getting along during disagreements in love? Jim.
Disagreements, they always will arise. And you know it will arise. Deep down inside, you know, because you know the person you're with. If you really truly know the person you're with, you know it's going to be a disagreement. You know deep in my heart, they're not going to like this, you're not going to like that. The point of the disagreement is to hear each other out on why there's a disagreement and your experiences, and then you could go back and forth from there. It's not about domination. It's not about being right, or it's, you know, and most arguments, you know, for me, I feel or I think it's not really a good starting point, but, you know, bring it in, but don't use it as a way to get up on people or to get a response that you want, or, you know, to you know, get a resolution right there and then, because you didn't give people time to process it. And that's the problem. You're not giving people time to process the disagreement. And that's why things come out during disagreements that are not supposed to be said. Let them process it. Let's say revisit it, come back, you know? And if you try to do that, try to do it with the disagreement on I won't say a good note, because disagreements are not good, but on a compromising note, that you're not going to get everything that you want. You're not. That's why there's a disagreement. But if you can really come to a resolution, a compromise that, you know, it helps, and it helps you move along, and, you know, it helps the situation, you should explore it instead of just looking for the absolution of what you want, because you're not going to get it. And that's the problem. People want the absolution of getting what they want, and it's not going to work. So if you do the compromise, and, you know, you listen, you hear each other out, and with intent of coming up with a compromising solution, not to just, you know, hear disagreement and think why your argument is better than his, it's not going to work. So for me, that's what should be done. And I always tell people this: behind every argument or every disagreement is a true Hollywood story waiting for both sides and the truth to come out. So don't think just because you swept this on the rug that Hollywood is not going to get up on this, because they will find out everything. And then you know, the light always change. The light of how people view the argument stuff always change. So be upfront, you know, don't wait to like thinking like, you know, your past sins, your past stuff is not going to catch up, because when it does, that's when you have a disagreement with yourself. And then that's when you're going to have to buck up and confront it, or you can just keep running. But eventually all that catches up.
Just keep getting those hearts together, Jim. And I just want to say there was some good braces there. This was a great discussion that we popped off from the reaction video. And I just want to thank everybody that watches and supports the show. It is Jonathan St. James, along with LaDonna Marie and Dr. Jim, DDS, for Relationship Braces.
Which I was getting paid as a DDS.
And we want to thank you for your support, and we'll see you next time on the show.
Take care, everyone.
See you next time.
All right, folks, enough of that. We'll see you soon. Later.